Welcome to the ninth lesson of SmartKnitter. Knit Instructions Level 1. We will continue our exploration of the SmartGraph tools. Next, we'll take a look at the color grouping feature. There are 3 ways to open an image in SmartKnitter. The first way is to drag the image directly onto the SmartKnitter application icon to open it. The second way is to use the Import Image function to import an image. The third way is to use the Open function to open an image. Different default settings apply to BMP and JPEG image properties. BMP defaults to General Image in 256 colors. JPEG defaults to General Image in full colors. First, we'll demonstrate color grouping in 256 colors. To use this function, click Color Grouping in the Tools panel. Then, select colors from the image on the canvas. Click the checkmark icon to perform color grouping. After performing color grouping, options to remove scattered dots will appear. The function to remove scattered dots can also be used independently. We've included some scattered dots here for demonstration purposes. To remove scattered dots, enter the Color Grouping function and click the rightmost button in the Tool Details panel. The maximum scattered dot size value controls the number of scattered pixels that will be removed from the image. Increasing the value will remove more pixels, larger scattered dots, from the image. In full colors images, there are 3 ways to perform color grouping. The first way is to manually select colors, as in 256 colors images. We can group colors together even further with the Change Color tool. Another way to group colors together is to use the automated color grouping function for full colors images, which is located at the rightmost button in the Tool Details panel. There are 2 options available for automated color grouping. The right option is to select colors automatically, and we can set the maximum number of colors in the pop-up dialog box. Another automated color grouping function works similarly to the manual color grouping function, but the selected colors are hidden from the canvas, making it easier to handle complex images with many colors. Similar colors will be automatically grouped into selected color groups, as shown in the right side panel. Click the Group Remaining Colors button in the Tool Details panel to sort the colors remaining on the canvas into selected color groups. Click the checkmark icon to confirm the color grouping. For images with lots of shading and detail, we can use the dithering function in color grouping to retain the details while limiting the number of colors used. Select the main colors of the image. To use the dithering function, check Dithering in the Tool Details panel, and the dithering result will be displayed on the canvas. We can adjust the brightness, contrast, and blurriness in the Tool Details panel. Click the checkmark icon to apply the color grouping. Color grouping is useful for preparing jacquard patterns in knitting as the number of colors is limited. One tip for images with color blocks is to perform color grouping twice to obtain better results. First, select the main colors and the transitional colors between blocks. Perform the first color grouping. Do not remove the scattered dots in the first run. Click Cancel in the pop-up dialog box. Then, perform color grouping again with only the main colors. The colors from the previous color grouping can be re-added by clicking the third button from the left on the Tool Details panel. Click on the color chips in the Tool Details panel to remove the transitional colors. Set the parameters to remove the scattered dots this time. The next function is the color percentage. This is a statistical table for checking the number of colors in the canvas. The color palette and the full color image are independent of each other, so color percentage is not available in this type of image. In 256 colors image, the table shows the color percentage of the colors used in the canvas. In knit images, the table shows the color percentage and the knit structure usage count. We can add text to the image in SmartGraph. We can choose the font type, style, and size here. We can also add font outlines and shadows here. Additional features allow us to translate Chinese characters between traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. Line spacings can be set here. Click once on the canvas to set the starting position of the text box. Click the checkmark icon to finish typing. Next is the Insert Horizontal Line function. Click anywhere on the canvas to insert an empty row. We can set the number of rows to be inserted in the Tool Details panel. Check the interval if we want to insert a certain number of empty rows between a set number of existing rows. In this demo, we are inserting 2 empty rows between every 4 rows. Drag on the canvas to set the area of insertion. We can also set the total number of rows to be inserted in the Tool Details panel before clicking on the starting row of the interval insertion. We can move an existing row with the Shift and Move Row function by selecting the row on the canvas. Use the Delete Horizontal Lines function to delete unwanted rows in the canvas. We can also delete a certain number of rows between a set interval. The Insert Vertical Lines function works the same as the Insert Horizontal Lines function. We can insert a set number of lines or insert lines between set intervals. Sometimes, we need to knit the garment in half gauge, and we can alter existing knit instructions in SmartGraph. First, we need to widen the canvas to allow for the insertion of empty vertical lines. Enter the Insert Vertical Lines function and check the Knit in Half Gauge option in the Tool Details panel. Drag from the starting position to insert empty vertical lines in between. With the Knit in Half Gauge option selected, you can see the narrowing stitches are updated automatically for half gauge knitting. The Move, Duplicate, and Delete vertical lines functions work the same as the ones for horizontal lines. This marks the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching.